Hi, everybody. This is so cool. Hi, everybody. Happy Hanukkah. Um, my name is Zach Marks, and I'm the host of the Community Kitchen, where every month we learn a new recipe from a new culture, and we learn some of the stories behind that dish and about that culture. And because it is Hanukkah, this month we are cooking latkes, a Hanukkah classic. It's so good to see so many of you. I think a lot of you have come from the Forward. This event is being co-hosted with the Community Kitchen and the Forward, a great publication. And we are really fortunate to have the national editor and the food editor of the Forward, Rob Eshman, here to lead us in a latke making workshop. I'm super excited about it. And Rob, would you care to say a few words just to introduce yourself and about what we're making today?
Well, first of all, happy Hanukkah. I think tonight is going to be the fourth night of Hanukkah. So we start eating latkes on the first night, which is the night before the actual day of the holiday. That's the way Jewish holidays work. And then we eat them for the 8 days of the holiday. And so by day 8, we're pretty much saying uncle. But day 3, I still have an appetite for latkes, and I'm really excited to be able to show you how to make my favorite latkes. This recipe is a little different than a lot of what you find on the internet or what you may have cooked if you grew up making latkes. It's a little different. It doesn't use any filler, no flour, no matzah meal, no potato starch or outside potato starch, no tapioca. The only thing that binds it together are the natural ingredients in the potatoes, the onions, and the eggs. So in some ways it's lighter, it's crispier, and I think you're really gonna like it.
That is so awesome. Oh, you know what? I'm just seeing that the Zoom won't let us join. It says we've reached the max number of participants. That's pretty impressive that we did that. You know what? If you don't just give me 1 second, I'm gonna see if I can really quickly just upgrade the Zoom membership so that we can make sure we get everyone.
You broke Zoom?
Yeah. In the meantime, Rob, if you wouldn't mind, just to keep folks entertained while I try to do that.
Sure.
Would you share a little bit more of the history of latkes for folks while I figure this out?
Yeah. So as Zach said, I'm the national editor of the Forward. I am also the Forward's food editor. I started cooking when I was 14 years old professionally at Yellen's Chocolate Fudge Cake Bakery. I've been working in bakeries, restaurant, catering, up until I started my journalism career. And then I still continued, obviously, to cook for fun, for family, for friends. And now I am also handling all the Forward's food coverage, which is really good. And you're going to want to check it out at forward.com. So Hanukkah is a holiday that comes around December. It's a winter holiday. And it commemorates a victory of the Jewish people back in 165 over the Greek or Syrian or Seleucid rulers who had occupied their land. So a few of them rebelled, they were successful. When they went to rededicate the temple, the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, they'd seen that the people had sacked the temple and had destroyed the ark and destroyed the light over the ark and destroyed the holy menorah. So they had enough olive oil to keep the menorah lit for 1 day. But instead, the oil burned for 8 days. This is the legend. I don't know how much is fact, how much is legend. It's a really good story. And it's really a holiday about rededication, rededicating to your goals, to what you want to do in your life. It's about resistance, which is a theme that I think a lot of us are familiar with from the past, say, 4 years. And it's about joy. It's about really celebrating with family and friends, and sometimes it's a dark time. So it's one of my favorite holidays. Growing up, it was always a great holiday. My mom makes great latkes. I've been making latkes, ever since I left the nest. And sometimes I'll use a recipe. One of my favorite recipes is from Joan Nathan, the Julia Childs of Jewish cooking. And she has wonderful recipes. She has a recipe in the New York Times. I think it was on Wednesday's New York Times. She has a latke recipe, which I'm dying to try, which uses a kind of Swiss roasty technique. This is a more traditional latke technique. The only difference, like I said, is I'm not adding matzah meal, which I don't really like. I'm not adding flour. So I'm trying to keep the latkes as light as possible. As I'm talking, if you have questions, you can raise your hand virtually. Zach will get to your question, or you could put it in the chat and he could answer your question. I'm happy for you to interrupt me, ask anything you want. We might have a special visitor later who could tell you even more about Hanukkah. And then Zach, as soon as you give the go ahead.
Yep. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out if it's possible for us to upgrade our, oh, it looks like we're able to get more folks here. So, well, that's a really good sign. I see more than 100 people on. One sec, I'm just going to confirm.
Sure.
Let's see.
So as Zach's doing that, I just want to point out, kind of go over the ingredients. This could not be simpler, and yet, like most fried foods, it's really good because it's fried. There's basically 3 basic ingredients to latkes. There's the potato. I'm showing you on my cutting board cam. There's onion, there's egg, salt and pepper, those count, and then oil. For oil, you're going to want to use a grapeseed oil, or peanut oil is great, or a canola oil, something that's not heavily flavored. You want to do something that has a high smoke point because you're going to be doing some heavy frying. You want to get the potatoes cooked. You don't want a lot of smokiness in the kitchen, and it shouldn't really impart any kind of flavor to the latkes. I've made latkes in olive oil, an extra virgin olive oil. Not that great. Not that great. You can't get it hot enough to get them crispy enough. So maybe at some point olive oil was the traditional thing to use, but now I really prefer canola, grapeseed, or peanut oil if you have that on hand. And that's it. It's really, like a lot of things, it's really more about the technique than about fancy ingredients. You know, obviously, get the best potatoes you can. Russet potatoes are the best for this dish because they have a lot of starch in them. And it's the starch that's going to hold things together. I use really good eggs because we used to have chickens and I got spoiled by having really good eggs, and a sweet onion I'm using today. So, and that's it. And then we're going to grate them. If you have a food processor, it makes it very quick. Some people prefer the texture of the food processor. It gets it a little bit more mushy. If you don't have a food processor, you don't want to get it dirty, this is really fast to do with your hands as well, with a box grater. So we'll get started. What I love about Community Kitchen, this is my second Community Kitchen, and what I love is it's not just me talking about food, I'm actually doing it with you, and I think that's really special that we're all cooking together. I love this idea. I love the community Zach and everybody has built around it, so really honored to be part of it. Zach, when you give me the go-ahead.
We're almost ready. I mean, one thing that is super exciting is that this is our first Community Kitchen that has forced us to go to the Upgrade Pro Zoom link. It's really awesome to see so many people here in community in these challenging times where I know a lot of us love to have big Hanukkah dinners and cook latkes together. Here we are sort of doing it together. One more social note I wanted to mention about the Community Kitchen before we get going with cooking is that I'm not sure if you mentioned this while I was figuring out the logistics, but every month the host of the Community Kitchen picks a cause to support. And so this event is dedicated to the World Central Kitchen. That's what Rob chose. And I'm going to post a link in the chat where you can donate if you'd like to pay it forward, to pay Rob's hospitality forward here. And with that, Rob, I think let's get started making some latkes.
Okay, but I will give a plug for World Central Kitchen. It's Chef Jose Andres. They feed people all over the world, especially in emergency situations. They've been feeding first responders during COVID. If there's a hurricane, they're the first ones in. It's a miracle. This is a holiday of miracles, and it's a miracle how they are able to get food up and running, hot, good food to people who need it. So really, if you could support World Central Kitchen, you'll be doing a great service in return. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to do is peel the potato and peel the onion. If you're fast doing it, then you don't have to worry so much about the potatoes browning. I think the ideal you're going for is a very white latke, not an oxidized potato latke. So go as fast as you can. And if you can't go fast, and look, if you end up with a few peels on it, like little bits, that's okay. If you can't go fast, you could always keep the potatoes in some water, and that'll help them keep white for a longer time. So go ahead and peel your potatoes, and I use 4 potatoes. The recipe, is posted at Community Kitchen. It's also the same recipe I posted at forward.com earlier in the week. And it might even be on my Instagram, which is foodieism. So you want to peel
that in the chat so folks can see it.
What's that?
I was just saying I'll post the links to the article you wrote, the recipe as well, so folks can see it.
So can you do this without peeling the potatoes? If you scrub them well and get off the schmutz, you could definitely do it with the potato peels. I love the flavor of potato peels. I find them very earthy, and I think they add flavor, and also there's a lot of vitamins and minerals in the peels. I think most of the vitamins and minerals. So if you feel like it and you don't mind a little different, multicolored hues in your potatoes, you could just clean them really well and then go ahead and grate them. So you're gonna have to tell Zach, because I can only see me, but tell Zach if you're ready to move to the next step. But now I'm gonna do the onion.
Let's see, I'm trying to get a sense for folks. Folks, give me some thumbs up, or if you have a question, like just raise your hand, or use the raise hand tab in the Zoom. Oh, let's see. Stacy has a question. I'm trying to unmute you, Stacy.
Which on my box grater, which holes, like the really big ones or the ones?
So you want the really big holes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. If you try the little ones, which I tried when I was a kid, you just end up with onion puree. So I have the onion peeled, I have my potatoes peeled, and if you put them in water while you were doing it, you want to dry them. Water is not your friend. When you're making latkes, water, moisture, it's not your friend. In general, when you want crispy food, water's the enemy, whether it's chicken skin or the surface of a steak. So I dry off the potatoes, and now we're ready. Are we ready to go to the next step?
Let's just see. I'm going to take one more quick scan of folks. I see some really beautifully peeled potatoes. Wow, Joseph, excellent potato peeling. My mom seems to be waving her hand. Is that a thumbs up, Mom, or are you saying you need a question? I think that's like a triumphant, I peeled the potatoes very well. Okay, cool. I think we're ready to keep on going, Rob.
Okay, so like I said, super simple recipe. We're going to grate the potatoes now. So I'm sorry, I forgot one important step. When you're grating the potatoes, what I want you to do is to find a tea towel. I remember I put it in the instructions. So get a tea towel or a piece of cheesecloth. And to make life easy, what I do is I grate directly onto the cheesecloth or the tea towel. So you see what I'm doing here? Take a potato and I'm grating it directly onto the cheesecloth. Or in this case, it's just a tea towel. It's clean. I promise you the tea towel is clean. And what I also like to do is do a couple potatoes and then take my onion. Oh, I have the cutting board view now, which is quite professional looking. Take your onion, and you want to grate that too. If you're sensitive to onion, this is the time you're going to want to, hey, if you have a mask lying around the house, say, I don't know if any of you have a mask lying around the house, but wearing one of those could help when you're grating onion.
This is very therapeutic for me, just like listening to the sound of you grating onions.
So again, you're grating right onto the towel.
As you're doing that, I'm just fielding some questions from the audience. How many onions are we doing here?
So my ratio is 4 decent sized potatoes to 1 onion, 4 to 1.
Got it. Okay, so Barbara, 4 to 1. Here's an interesting question. If you scrape your fingers and it gets bloody, are the latkes still kosher? And do you have any advice?
I think that kind of blood is kosher. That's holy blood.
Any advice for keeping your fingers safe from the box grater?
Yeah, you know what my advice is? It's a really good question, honestly. Don't try to get the whole potato. You know, you're not going to get everything if you don't want to grate your fingers. So what I do is I don't sweat it. I stop before I grate the whole thing, and then I'll go back and I'll do it. And if there's one little bit that I didn't get, I'll just throw that in, like say this part I can't do without hurting my fingers. I'll just use it in some other part of cooking. I don't throw it out, but I'm not gonna bleed for it. So this is my 3rd potato. I don't know where you guys are at. Again, if you have a Cuisinart and you're making latkes for a crowd, it's really fast and easy to do this on the largest grating hole of the Cuisinart or food processor.
Let's see. Yeah, Judy recommends throwing the last little bit into the brisket if you got some leftover onions, potatoes. Nice idea.
Yeah, if you have a little leftover onion or potato, you could throw it in soup, or if you're making a main dish that night, put it in that, or you could, you know, chop it up even finer with a knife and put it in, but it's really not worth the time or blood. And yep. I do. Okay. So now I'm done with the, I don't know where everybody else is at, but I'm done with the potatoes and the onion.
Yeah, let's pause for a second. I'm going to do a little quick scan through the photos or the videos. Wave your hands if you need some assistance or you have a burning question. I'll unmute you here. I see some aggressive grating. Looks like some
aggressive grating going on.
Some folks are already using, people are using Cuisinarts. There's like all kinds of high-tech potato shredding happening. And also a lot of like,
I've made latkes for 300 people at once in my wife's synagogue, and I've made latkes for, you know, for 40 people. And when you're doing it for that many people, you really want to use a machine, and it doesn't affect the flavor. It doesn't affect the final product at all.
That's good news. I see Joseph and Kimberly using the industrial grade food processor. Maybe they're having cool. I think I don't see any burning questions, which is a good sign. Although I do have a question from my mother, which is how far in advance can you grate the potatoes and hold them on?
Another good question. Latkes, like I said, you want kind of white latkes, you don't want brown latkes. And if you get oxidized potatoes, you're going to get brown latkes. It doesn't really affect the flavor, but it doesn't look that nice. So try and make everything as fast as you can. You don't grate the potatoes and then let them sit out and wait in a bowl. Even with the egg, pieces of the potato are going to oxidize if they're exposed to air. So I find that it's best to just do it all at once. Get it in your pan. In fact, this would be a really good time to go over to your skillet where you're going to cook these and pour in some oil and start heating that up. Because now we're about 5 to 7 minutes away from actually frying these. So that's about how long it's going to take you to get some nice hot oil. So I'm going to go over to mine.
Awesome. While you're walking over there to heat up the oil, do you know if you're using a food processor, is there a special grating blade? I got
a couple. The largest one.
Okay, the largest one. Awesome.
So I just poured in about...
Hey, Carolyn, can you unmute yourself? I see you got a question. I'm trying to make you unmute. Can you just hit the unmute button?
Thank you. So when you say the largest grating thing, is that the one that's the slicer?
No, not the slicer, the grater. So are you talking about the Cuisinart?
Cuisinart. So I've got a fine and I've got a medium and then I've got a slicer.
You want the meat? I think the slicer is a slicer. You want the medium.
The medium. Okay.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
one other question, as long as I've got you. So my recipe calls for putting in baking powder. You don't put in baking powder?
No, we're going to get to that in a second, but no, I don't.
Thank you.
Sure.
Oh, by the way, I'm from Portland, Oregon.
Wow. I'd love to know where everybody's chiming in from. That's really interesting.
Maybe I can like.
Potatoes, Portland. So my oil's heating up in a cast iron pan, which you're going to see later. I poured about, not a full 1/4 inch of oil, but I don't skimp on it. I want to cover the bottom of the pan with oil and have a little bit for it to float in. So maybe it's like, more than an eighth, maybe less than a 1/4, maybe a 1/4, doesn't really matter. What really matters is you want the temperature to be pretty hot so that you don't soak these in oil so that they fry. So get that going, and then we could start squeezing out the liquid. Zach, let me know when we're ready to squeeze, which is the most fun part of this recipe.
All right, let's take a couple more questions before we get to the squeezing, because some folks have said they need a bit more time. Hey,
Okay.
Elise, I'm asking you to unmute. You want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you. I've heard that soaking the potatoes first in ice water helps to make the latkes crispy. Can you talk about that?
I've tried it. I didn't notice a big difference. With this recipe, they come out crispy. The one thing I haven't tried is, like I was saying, Joe Nathan had written about using a Swiss roasty style, the way they make roasty in Switzerland, which is they bake the potato almost fully first. They bake it just so it starts to be almost fully cooked, and then they peel it, and then you grate that. So you're grating a semi-cooked potato, and then you fry that. And I would say that way, that makes a lot of sense if you want it to be crispy. If you've ever had roasty, they're super, super crispy. But this is like, there's no extra steps in this recipe. You could, once you get it down, come into the kitchen, grate your potatoes, grate your onions, squeeze, mix it together. You could have latkes on the table in 15 or 20 minutes, no joke. So that's what I like about this recipe. There's not a lot of prep, not a lot of work at all. It's just, get it in and get it done. And they do come out really crispy.
Awesome. While you've been sharing that, it's pretty cool, Rob. We got folks from all over the country. We got Potato Capital. We got someone from Idaho. Hey, Mark.
Idaho?
Yeah. We got, coast to coast and everywhere in between. Pretty cool.
Tell me, Zach, should I go on to the next step?
I think we are ready for the next step.
Okay, so I just unveiled this beautiful mound of white potatoes. I mean, it's stunning. And this is a really fun part of the recipe. If you have kids around, if you have a significant other, if you have an insignificant other, have them come into the kitchen and watch this little magic part. What I do is fold up the opposite corners of my tea towel, and then I'm going to squeeze this over a bowl. And I'm just going to start turning it. And you see already how much liquid is coming out. Now this takes, the more pressure you apply, the more water you're going to get out. So, don't pull something. And don't beat yourself up if you can't squeeze hard enough. That's why it's fun to have somebody help you. You could also do it the other way, where you have one person at one end, one at the other, and you twist it in between. So this is all the liquid from the potatoes, all the liquid from onions, and if you've ever cooked onions, you know that they're a large part water. And all that stuff is going to prevent your potatoes from being really crispy, your latkes. So I squeeze pretty well. It's a challenge. I like to get a lot of that liquid out. Now we don't disturb the liquid, we're just squeezing it in here. Now, I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it aside for now. Maybe.
Sari, did you have a question about the squeezing? I saw your hand go up and a concerned look on your face. Okay, no, okay, we're good.
So this is what's left over. This is not so tasty. This is onion juice and potato liquid. And the magic in this is what's going to be at the bottom after we talk for a little bit longer. Right now, you could keep these, here. They're not going to turn brown in here. They'll turn brown much more slowly. And just let this settle. We want this starch that was in the potatoes to settle down to the bottom. And that starch is going to go back into the latkes, and that's what's going to help them bind together. So this might take a little while. This could take 5 minutes, it could take 10 minutes, no rush. While we're doing it, Zach had asked a really good question, which is, latkes are supposed to be this ancient Jewish tradition, right? But we know that potatoes are a New World vegetable. So they came over after Columbus, and not right after Columbus, but a while after Columbus. Potatoes came to Europe and were incorporated into European cuisine. So where did the whole potato latke thing come from? One thing I think is fascinating is that when we follow, in religions, we think things are the way things are is the way they've always been. And we don't see that at some point, some humans came along and invented it. And it took 1 generation, 2 generations, and then it becomes, oh, how could you have Hanukkah without potato latkes? So for generations, millennia, they had Hanukkah without potato latkes. In fact, the traditional pancake was a cheese pancake. And there's a connection between eating dairy and Hanukkah that goes to the story of a Jewish heroine from the Bible named Judith, Yehudit, who long before Hanukkah, there's a story of her in a battle rebelling against some oppressors. There's always some oppressors, there's always some rebellion that usually ends with food, as we always know. So she lured the general of the opposing army into her tent. She plied him with wine and cheese pancakes, salty pancakes, made him thirsty. Salty cheese made him thirsty. He drank wine. He fell asleep. She cut off his head. She showed his head to the Israelites. They got all jazzed. They rebelled. They won. They started to make cheese pancakes. So for years and years, cheese pancakes were the traditional latkes of Hanukkah. Then Eastern European Jews, for different reasons, nobody really knows why. One theory is because in Jewish law, in the laws of kashrut, you can't mix milk products with meat products. So the only fat back then, the most common fat was chicken fat, and you couldn't fry cheese pancakes in chicken fat. Butter was expensive, it was a rarity. And the Eastern European Jews didn't really have extra virgin olive oil, they had no Whole Foods. So they started to use these things, potatoes, which were planted, especially after a food famine. Potatoes were widely planted all over Poland, where most of the European Jews lived. So potato latkes became the latke of Hanukkah. I love to see people squeezing. Look, it's exercise. We're all eating so many latkes, we need to squeeze a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like it's very therapeutic. That's a fascinating history that I did not know. Thank you for sharing that. I feel like it.
Sure.
I'll think
So, we think of these things as immutable. We think of religions as that's always the way it is. It's not always the way it is, and the way it is not always the way it has to be. I think that's one of the lessons of Hanukkah and of all holidays. So now are we ready to go to the next step?
I think we're probably just about ready. There's been a lot of very strong squeezing happening. I see people getting closer to their stoves. Maybe folks give me a sign of a thumbs up, thumbs down if you think your oil is hot. Oh, I got Kathleen. That's a good strong thumbs up in North Carolina. Yep.
North Carolina.
Yep. Justin and Leo in New York. They're a bit slower. It's okay. We'll take some time. While we're heating oil, I did get a great question in my DM just now from Barbara. What about frying latkes in chicken fat, which she has in her freezer?
I've fried potatoes in chicken fat and in duck fat. I've never fried latkes, but I think it's really worth trying, and you should report back to us. It sounds great. I don't know if Joan is on this call, if on the Zoom, if you've ever done it. If anybody's ever done it, I'd love to know what that's like. It sounds wonderful. Sounds great.
I know we had Joan a moment ago. I seem to have lost her in my.
Okay.
So I think we're probably ready to move on to the next step, though, Rob.
What's that?
Yeah, I think you could take us to the next step.
Okay, great. So we have this liquid that's been settling, and I need to pour it off. So very gently start pouring this liquid off. And you'll see at the bottom, there's some white starch there. You see that starch? Now, some of you might have more of it. Some of you might have less of it. This is not that much. I probably could have let it settle longer. So if you see this starch, this is potato starch. It's very starchy. And that's going to go right back in. So now we unravel our potatoes. And now you want to work kind of fast because this is going to be oxidized. The longer it takes to do this, the more it's going to oxidize. So get your eggs, and we're going to crack the eggs in. Depending on how big your potatoes are, you're going to want to use about 3 to 4 eggs. I think this looks more like a 4-egg latke. But sometimes it's even less. Sometimes it's 2.
How do you know?
Hmm?
How do you know whether it's a 4-egg latke or 3-egg latke?
Well, you want everything coated in egg. You don't want it swimming in egg, but you do want it coated in egg. So this is nicely coated in egg now. This is beautiful. I mean, it's the yellow. These eggs are gorgeous. It's those peat and dairy eggs. I don't know if you've seen those in the market from local farmers. You see how every bit of potato is coated in egg, but it's not swimming. You don't have egg and potato soup. So at this point, all the potato is covered. So it's gonna less chance of it oxidizing. And then we're just gonna put some salt in. I think it's about a teaspoon of salt. And then freshly ground pepper. Don't forget, there's no other ingredients. I mean, these are really classic latkes. So it's salt and pepper. So you can go a little heavier on the pepper. But then again, you know, latkes also, a lot of the flavor is what you're going to top them with. So, and the onion has a lot of flavor. So you mix back in. I don't know how many of you got a good amount of starch, but that goes back in, and that's going to help these bind. You know, it's funny. Sometimes with an older potato, you'll get a lot of starch out of it, and sometimes less. But these are binding beautifully. So somebody asked about baking powder. You don't need anything else. You're going to get this pure taste of potato and egg, and there's something, you know, simple foods, pure foods. The flavors really come through. If you added matzah meal like some recipes or flour like some recipes, it just kind of adds weight, and it doesn't really improve the flavor. And, you know, believe it or not, cooking is all about flavor. So we're done with our batter. This is it. It's holding together nicely. These are going to make beautiful latkes. They're not like mushy. They're not, you know, they're not kind of liquidy. They're not a pancake. They're somewhere between a hash brown and a pancake, and they just make for a really delicious pancake, a really delicious latke. So, are there any questions now? Because I want to move my rig over to the stove.
Can we take a moment before we get to the frying?
Sure.
Alana, can you unmute yourself? I'm trying to unmute you. I see you have a question.
Hi, I am Ilana and I'm near New York, but I'm from California. Anyway, my question is whether what does the potatoes fried in chicken fat taste like? Where do you get chicken fat, or something that you get in Eastern Europe, which is the drippings like from a goose, and then you add like fried onions. Oh God, it's delicious.
That's the best. That's gribbiness, right? You're talking about gribbiness.
Dripping, yeah, but it becomes schmaltz, except
Yeah. You know, any butcher, any good butcher and any kosher butcher, you could walk in and ask for chicken schmaltz, and my kosher butcher has it in the freezer section, like a block. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize.
Or you can make it yourself if you have a lot of leftover chicken skin. If you're making chicken, you could slowly render the fat out of the chicken skin and then use that in your cooking as well. And then frying potatoes in it, it really does. anything fried in schmaltz tastes great. And it's really, you know, the food that if you come from Eastern European Jewry, from Ashkenazim Jews, that was the main fat that they used. That was their oil. They put it on bread instead of butter.
Yes,
Fried.
on bread. Yes.
I'm making you hungry. I could see.
Oh, yes, you are. And I cannot get it anywhere in America. Sometimes in Toronto, which is kind of closer to the Jewish roots from Europe, you can get stuff. But not anywhere in America. I never thought of a kosher butcher.
Kosher butchers have it.
Okay.
So, and anybody who wants to try frying their latkes in it, I would love to know how they come out. I think that's a brilliant idea. So,
What
as you're
about the thing that I've never separated the water. I thought of, I just, spoon it out, kind of get rid of a bit of the water so I don't have too much of that liquid and just put it in. I don't mind the splatter so much, I suppose. But
yeah, well, I just find that the more you get the water out of it, the crispier it gets. So that's why I like that technique. And if you use that technique, then you're replacing the need for more ingredients. So that's why I like it. Okay. Zach, are we ready?
We are almost ready. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go move my rig over to the frying pan, okay?
Cool. While you do that, I'll see, oh, Connie, I see you got a question. You wanna unmute yourself?
I'm not unmuting. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
I want to know if you can freeze these latkes after you fry them and then heat them up in the oven.
Absolutely. Latkes freeze really well. So I can show you at the end, but if you just get like a foil pan like this, can everybody see that? So you lay latkes in one layer in the bottom of the pan, and then you could put on a piece of baking parchment or a piece of aluminum foil, lay another layer, another layer, another layer. And this is after you let them cool. Then you put them in, wrap them well, put them in the freezer. And then when you want to cook them, you heat the oven up to 300, 350, and just one sheet at a time, you could reheat them. If you have 2 racks, you could use 2 at a time. So it's very easy, especially if you're making them for a crowd.
Thank you.
Well, one more question, Sheila, go for it.
Not a question, just a comment. I fried my latkes in schmaltz on Friday and Saturday, and they were wonderful. I've never done that before, but I cannot tell a lie. I didn't have enough oil, but I did have schmaltz. So I used it and they came out very tasty.
Did you notice, did you really notice the difference?
No, I just know that they were really good and I didn't know what to expect. I think a little bit more flavorful than the canola oil, but I don't know, but they certainly were good.
Oh yeah.
And my neighbor said to me, "Oh, they were wonderful latkes." I didn't tell her how I made them. I said, "Thank you." So.
Okay, now I'm gonna turn my back on you guys because I need to go over to the fry. You're gonna watch me fry. So let me go describe how I'm gonna do that. First of all, we want to know, is the oil hot enough? Now I can see it shimmering and smoking, but I'm just gonna put in a little. And that is definitely hot enough when it starts sizzling like that. Zach, how's the view of my frying pan?
Let's see, I'm trying to make it the spotlight. Give me 1 second. I gotta find it again. Spotlight. Ooh, looks like a pretty good view of that cast iron. Someone had asked earlier if you recommend a cast iron.
I love cast iron, so yeah, I recommend it. I use it for everything. Yeah, it really is good. One trick I've learned is not really a trick, it's kind of common sense, but I've made latkes for a lot of people at once. Heat up as many pans as you need. Don't try to do it all in one pan. It takes so long that way. But put your 4 burners, use 4 pans, you'll get it done in no time at all. So let's go over here and make some latkes. Here's the batter. And sometimes it starts to pool, so I'm gonna just mix it before I do it. And then you could use a spoon like this, and take the spoon, and then just put them right down there and press them a little bit. What I love are these crispy edges. That's what I'm going for. So I press each latke until I get these crispy little edges and a nice round shape. You could do this with your hands, and you could do it with a spoon. If you like them thicker, you could leave them thicker, but I kind of love these crispy edges. These smell so incredibly good.
Mm.
So while those are frying, you know, you want to get your pan that you're going to put them on. So you can get out a piece of foil or whatever you want to use, a plate. If you want to line the plate with some paper towels to absorb the excess oil, but I mean, the holiday is about oil. And if you're going to make a bunch and then keep them warm in the oven, you could preheat your oven to 170 or something and just pop them in the oven and they'll stay warm for a while.
Awesome. While these are frying, I'm going to unmute Susan. Susan, you have a question?
Hi, I'm a little bit ahead of you. I'm eating my latkes already. I just wanted to share that the other day, I happened to be looking for something else, but noticed that Whole Foods is selling chicken fat.
Oh.
In a jar. And
yeah.
my latkes came out great. Thank you.
Hold it closer to the camera.
That's
the
cool.
latke. Let me see. That's beautiful.
What do you
And
have
I'm
your
using
latke top with, Susan?
both applesauce and sour cream. Oops. Thank you.
So how do you know, like you want to, these are cooking and you want to make sure the edges around them are brown, and that's when you're going to know to turn them over. If you take a look at that, that's a beautiful latke. Beautiful latke number 2.
Mm. Perfect. When you're draining them, we've got a question, Rob. Do you drain them on like paper towels? What do you do? What do you do?
Yeah, you can put them on paper towels if you have a baking rack. Some people like to drain them on a baking rack. That really is effective because it doesn't steam them at all. It really just makes them crisp on both sides. So if you have a large baking rack, that's good, a wire rack. These will be done in, let's say, what was it, maybe 3 or 4 minutes per side. And you want to keep the flame, you want to keep the oil hot. And in between, you want to make sure the oil comes up back to temperature. So you don't want to put latke batter into cold oil because then it just sucks up all the oil. There's a lot of foods that are traditional on Hanukkah, and they mostly revolve around oil because oil is, like I said, it was the oil, the miracle of the oil lamps that stayed lit for 8 days instead of 1. Italian Jews make a fried chicken recipe that's wonderful, fried chicken. There's sufganiyot, which are donuts. And if you go to forward.com, we have 8 days of donuts, 8 donuts from around the Jewish communities all around the world that they would traditionally make around Hanukkah. And many of those donuts come from the cultures where they were living, like, sufganiyot, or a very Eastern European kind of pastry. That's in a typical Israeli donut filled with jelly. There's a pancakes, which are kind of fried dough from the Arab world, which the Jews wouldn't make on Hanukkah because, again, it used a lot of oil. Buñuelos from Spain. So, wherever Jews were, they took they adopted some of the customs of the people around them. Sometimes they invented those customs themselves. History is very murky on these things. And then they incorporated that into their holidays.
Awesome.
So I'm going back to the frying.
If you're frying at home, you want to give a little camera shot, and we'll try to do some spotlights on some of the beautiful latkes.
It's perfectly ready to come out. You can see that it's nice and brown. Don't settle, even if you're in a rush, just really try to go for golden brown because it makes a big difference. You also want to make sure that they're cooked.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see, Carolyn, you got a question? Oops. It looks like you're showing a beautiful latke. Go for it.
So what I wanted to share was I have found that if I want to freeze my latkes, I don't drain them and just put them in a pan and let them freeze and then put them in a plastic bag after they're frozen. But then when I want to take them out, you know, you've got that fat in there, put them in the oven and they crisp up just like they're fresh. So that's my tip to pass on to everybody. It works.
That works really well. It's yeah, what you just said is totally true. You could freeze them, and then once they're frozen, put them in a Ziploc bag, and then just take them out like potato chips and reheat them. I mean, we're talking potatoes and onions. They're pretty indestructible. So it's not like it's some kind of delicate pastry. How's everybody's latkes going? I kind of want to look at other people's.
Yeah, let's take a look. So I just made Joseph the spotlight. Joseph, look at that. I want to unmute you so you can talk about your latkes. How do I?
Joseph's latkes look a lot better than my biscuits.
How do I unmute you, Joseph? Oh, there we go. Hey, Joseph, share about, this is your first time making latkes?
Yes, I have never made latkes before.
Oh.
But I have eaten them and loved them, so I'm very happy to know how to make them now.
They look incredible.
Did people? I'm curious. When you drained your, when you looked at the bottom of the liquid, did you find some potato starch there?
Yeah, it was thick.
White.
Yeah, very thick white.
Isn't that crazy? And,
yeah.
And sometimes, like I didn't have that much this time, but sometimes you'll end up with a 1/4-inch layer, and sometimes a little less. But the point is just to use it back. It's really the drying that's so helpful.
For sure.
Hey, Elizabeth, I see you doing some work over there.
No,
Made you, let me, oh, sorry, how do I want to unmute you. Yeah. What you got going on in Chicago?
Hello. Hi. I like the way they came out. They look good.
Ooh.
I think they're a little too thick in the middle, but I think they're going to be all right. And then I just hit them with a little bit of salt as soon as I took them out, and now they're like draining.
That's a really nice idea. You know, if they're a little thick in the middle, you could also dimple them with your back of your spoon and just press it out a little bit when they're cooking.
Okay, I'm going to do that with the second round.
For the next batch. Yeah. They
Awesome.
cake that really easily. I'm gonna finish frying these, Zach, and then maybe answer some more questions. Oh!
Who you have here?
Latkes.
You come for the latkes?
Luna's helping with the latkes. She's gonna love it. Yeah.
And then I'll just show you like a couple traditional ways to serve them. And maybe I'm gonna go grab our latke taster in here. Now,
who is the latke taster?
hold on 1 second. Let me just see if she's around.
Sure. In the meantime, I'll keep scrolling through. Let's see. Ooh, Liz, I see some good latke flipping over there.
Hey.
What you got going?
I may not have squeezed enough water, but yeah, that's what they look like. And I was just in the middle of flipping them the second round.
Is this your first latke flipping experience?
Yes, never made them before.
Excellent.
You do have to be a little careful in the flipping. You don't want oil splatters.
It's a very, very small layer of oil.
That's actually a question, Rob, that a lot of folks have been asking is how much oil do you use? Like, how do you know when you have enough? Is it a quarter?
I'm always happy to be a latke taster.
Like I said, you want about maybe a little less than a 1/4 inch of oil. So I have a latke taster here. Come on, latke taster.
This is my favorite job in the whole wide world. I'm so excited.
This is my wife,
Hi,
Naomi, everybody, who also happens to be a fantastic rabbi. So she's going to
But
taste.
for today, I'm a latke taster.
So traditionally, I don't know if you could see this. Can you see this okay, Zach?
Yeah.
Can I get it?
This is some homemade applesauce, which is a very traditional, All
right,
garnish on a
I'll
latke,
be
just some
honest.
applesauce.
I'll be very honest. Ready?
Let's see.
Oh my God. This is so good.
So the applesauce is
You make the applesauce?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is Instapot applesauce. It's apples, a little sugar, a little cinnamon,
It's outstanding.
a little vanilla in the Instapot.
It's outstanding.
We have some requests already for you to share your applesauce recipe. I'm not sure that's like.
I will so put that up on, where should I put it? Zach, I'll give it to you and you can put it somewhere. I'll put it over at forward.com.
You guys, this is like a taste of Garden of Eden. It's so good.
So while I'm flipping the next batch of latkes, maybe Naomi could tell you a little bit about the meaning of Hanukkah during the pandemic.
Or maybe everybody wants to light candles. Is it dark where you guys are?
Yeah, there's a lot of people in New York.
Yeah, we got to
Wanna
mix.
do that?
Whatever you want.
That sounds. I mean, yeah. We could all light a candle. Maybe even since we got a lot of folks here who this is maybe their first Hanukkah celebration. Rabbi, if you would maybe share a little bit about what the holiday means and what it means in time.
It's going to be hard because I don't want to put down my latke.
Or you could just eat your latke. You don't even. I don't have to make you work.
Well, I went into history, but why don't you talk about what it means and then
During the pandemic?
About why we light candles. Then we'll end with lighting candles if people
Hi, Jill.
don't have questions.
You know what? I really think I spoke about this at Nashuva on Friday night. My spiritual community is called Nashuva, and you can always catch us online, NASHUVA. But I was really talking about how during the pandemic, the message of Hanukkah is perseverance. It's strength, it's courage. And I think we all need that. We all need that sense that we can get through a challenging time. And the message of Hanukkah has forever been a message that we are a resilient people, that we are courageous people, and that we can make it through a very, very difficult time. And we're so grateful that the vaccine is here and that it's coming, but we know that it's not going to be an easy few months coming up. And the message that Hanukkah gives us this year during this pandemic is a message of hope, courage, perseverance. So that's what I'm blessing all of you who are watching with us right now, is I am blessing you that this Hanukkah will instill within you patience, courage, health, healing, perseverance, light, and latkes.
Light and latkes.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Light and latkes.
Oh. All right, I'll leave.
We might need you to light. How about? Are there any other questions, Zach?
The name of your congregation is Nashuva. Is that right?
Nashuva, and we're live every Friday night. We're live online on Facebook. Just go to Rabbi Naomi Levy on Facebook, and we have a service every single Friday night that's live on Facebook and on YouTube. Just subscribe to Nashuva's YouTube page, and you can join us there.
Lovely.
And by the way, Friday night, we're doing a 9th candle to honor all the frontline workers, all the first responders, just a special light for them, to honor them and to pray for their health and their strength.
Yeah, amazing. Are you able to lead us in a candle lighting?
Sure.
It's like communal, act.
I can't see.
Can you see these?
Yeah, we can.
So why don't you talk about what a menorah is? And then
This is I'm assuming most people watching are familiar with the Hanukkah.
We've got a handful of non-Jews.
A lot of non-Jews.
Okay. Well, on Hanukkah, I think here's your lighter, Robin.
Oh.
So each night of Hanukkah, we're celebrating the miracle of oil, that when the Maccabees came into the Holy Temple, and they only found enough oil for the menorah to be burning one night, it miraculously burned for 8 days and 8 nights. And I think part of the message of Hanukkah with the oil is a message of the fact that you can make do with very little. And that we might think we're running on empty, but we can actually make do with very little and persevere. So when you're lighting a menorah, hold on, I'm just trying to get this flame going. When you're lighting a menorah, you always add your candles from right to left. So this is my right. You're always adding the candles from right to left, and you're always lighting them from left to right. You add the candles from right to left, but you light them from left to right. Robbie, you wanna?
Oh, you got it. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. Okay, you're gonna help me?
Yeah.
So you add the candles right to left, you light them left to right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehavlikno she'el Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim l'avotenu בימים ההם בזמן הזה. מה עשו ישובתי לחנה ושפיה, תיכון בתפילתי ושמעת נזפיה, ותחי מותיה ניצחון נפיה, אז אתמול בשיר מזמור חנוכת המזבח. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Vincent Hanukkah, Relachem Hanukkah, Chag Urim Sameach.
Chag Sameach. That was beautiful.
Enjoy Robbie's cooking. He's the best.
I feel like we all wish we could be eating in your kitchen right now. It's almost unfair. Rabbi, we had a question. Traditionally, are oil lamps used versus candles?
I'm sorry? So traditionally, it was an oil lamp, and we actually have some menorahs that are oil lamp with a wick, but it's totally acceptable and kosher to use Hanukkah candles.
Awesome.
And it's traditional to light your menorah Pirsum Hanes, in other words, to publicize the miracle. It's traditional to light your menorah in a public place so that passers-by can see your menorah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Other way.
Other way.
Let's see. Do we have maybe it's a good time as I flip through here to see other folks finish latkes. Anyone else want to show off some latkes they got?
I love looking at latkes. By the way, another great latke garnish is to put a little creme fraiche or labneh or yogurt on top of it, and then some smoked salmon and some capers. I mean, that's basically an hors d'oeuvre at any number of fancy parties around town. In the old days when there were fancy parties, but it is I love it with leaven and smoked salmon and capers. I'm just gonna pull my last latkes off.
Excellent. Does anyone else from the audience have like favorite latke toppings that they would like to share? Let's see. Robin says caviar. Susan, I see you got a hand up. I'm going to ask you to unmute.
I also go for caviar.
Awesome. Awesome.
What's that?
Caviar.
Oh, that is wonderful. I mean, you can't go wrong. They're delicious plain. They're delicious with these different toppings. The applesauce is just about 4 apples, maybe a teaspoon of sugar because the apples are very sweet, a little bit of vanilla and a little bit of cinnamon, and I put it in the Instapot for 10 minutes. And It's absolutely delicious. Kind of like the Instapot. That's latkes, everybody.
That
Number
is wonderful.
3 of them.
Let's see. It's really nice flipping through here and just seeing folks flipping latkes and a lot of folks just sort of tuning along, I think vicariously enjoying them. Hey, Judy, I see. It's really great to see you. I haven't seen you in like 15 years or something. Did you cook latkes for the first time here today?
I did. Can you hear me?
You can, yeah.
And we're eating them now. So I just wanted to tell you thank you. It was an enjoyable lesson. But mine are with sweet potatoes, and they're delicious.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
You could put, I mean, there are so many latke variations. There's sweet potatoes, there's leeks, there's zucchini and leeks. There's a Rhodes from the Greek island of Rhodes. They make a latke out of leek patties, which are traditional. Those are fantastic. I mean, if you could fry it, it's good for Hanukkah.
It was delicious. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Truly, it was a delightful evening.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Anything else, Zach?
We're almost set to wrap up. Last question. This is a good question to ask. Practical one. We've got a lot of liquid in the bowl. Do we put everything in the towel to get out the water? I guess they're sort of earlier on that step.
Say that again.
I think Lenore just had a question. Lenore, I assume you're still on the potato squeezing. Let me try to unmute you so you can ask your question directly to Rob. Let's go. Go for it.
I have a lot of liquid in my bowl now. Now that I've taken out a lot, I'm on the 3rd batch. So should I put it back in the towel to squeeze out the liquid?
I didn't quite understand the bowl. You've mixed it with the.
I have a lot. Yeah. Here, I don't know if you can see.
I see a lot of red.
Take this off.
Oh yeah, I think we can't quite see.
Potatoes.
Well, there we go.
So
now we can.
My bowl is really. I don't know if you can see it. It's all full of liquid. So I'm trying to figure out if I should put it back in the towel.
Is that
So
is
I
that
should squeeze
egg
out
in it?
the
Is that after you've added the egg?
Yes.
No,
yes.
then, yeah, as you're making it, I don't know if I said this, I should have, I'm sorry, but as you're making them, you kind of have to keep stirring them to make sure the liquid keeps being distributed.
Okay, but now that I've got a pot, what should I don't know if you can see it. Probably not showing it right, but
It's hard to see, but if you mix it all together and then just mix it all together again, remix it.
They seem really liquidy, like they're kind of.
And then just take out the solid parts with a little bit of the liquid and make that your latke. And you might end up with excess liquid, which you could just toss, but just use a little liquid with the solids.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Well, folks, thank you so much. We have a couple more questions which we are going to get to, but just since it's been an hour, I want to at least release some folks. But first, I want to send just a couple of logistical items. The first is. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Rob, so much for hosting. This has been an awesome educational experience and also just a wonderful community experience in a time when I think we could all use it. I'm posting a few links here. One, if you'd like to stay tuned for future community kitchen events, we do this every month, a different culture. And our next event is on Sunday, January 10th. We'll be making Indian parathas, and that's delicious flatbread. It's sort of a very comforting thing to have in the winter months. And Anjali Bhatia, who's on the call, I believe, is going to be leading that with her mother. So we're really excited. I just posted a link where you can sign up. I posted a link to our Instagram, and also just a reminder that today's event is dedicated to raising funds for World Central Kitchen. And I posted a little donate link, and so you can all donate there. And we're going to post a recording of this event on YouTube soon. So you can pass it on to your friends and family and refer to it.
You get a little recap on Foodieism, which is my Instagram. And
That's
also
right.
forward.com has the recipe along with its community kitchens. Just thank you for letting me into your kitchen today. This was really fun, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Woo! Okay, I see we're about ready to go, but I do see we have a couple of hands up, so I want to give them at least a chance. Bonnie, And then Steve, I'm asking you guys to unmute, so you're welcome to ask your questions.
Bonnie, you want to go first?
Oh, I think we lost Bonnie. Maybe it's Steve.
Okay. I had kind of a little bit of an off-the-wall question. I don't really like cooking these in my kitchen because the house gets really smoky. I'm wondering how, if it's possible or desirable to cook latkes on a cast iron pan on a barbecue grill.
It's not a bad question. I'll show you what I do. Hold on 1 second. I went on, you go on Amazon. Who asked that question?
Steve.
You go on Amazon and you buy one of these.
Oh, geez, I can't find it.
Which is an outdoor burner. You could use it indoor too. And it works with propane. And when we make fried food, like fried fish or fried chicken, we do it outside on this. Because unless you have an industrial fan, and these are maybe 20 bucks. I mean, they're really not expensive. They're 20, 25 bucks. There's different brands, but they're little propane tank burners and they work great. And you don't get any smell in your house whatsoever. So especially when we make fried fish, which we love to do once in a while, like Southern fried fish, we do it outside. House stays clean.
Bonnie's question, Bonnie's unmuted. I'm asking it for her. Hi.
No, for you.
Oh, I'm asking it for me. Why did we light Hanukkah candles for 8 days since there was enough oil for one of the days? The miracle, it seems, was only for 7 days. It should be a 7-day holiday.
Some cans. I don't know if there's anything in
You
it.
know, that's the kind of question that the woman who just walked out could have answered for you.
Okay.
But when I have a question like that, I just turn around and ask her.
Okay.
When she has cooking questions, she asks me.
Okay.
Rabbi.
Fair enough. Well,
Rabbi@neshuva.com. Rabbi@neshuva.com, and she'll answer that question.
Where is Meshuva, by the way?
Neshuva is based in Los Angeles, but she does online services. So you could, we're in Venice. You could go on from anywhere in the world. They get thousands of people for their high holiday services. They get hundreds of people for Shabbat.
In Venice, California?
Yeah. But she has services when there were such thing as live services, she did them in Brentwood.
Okay, yeah, there's a good history of a Jewish community in Venice. I think Rabbi Medved was there many years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. It was wonderful, and now I'm going to enjoy the latkes.
Thank you. Thanks for joining.
That's awesome. I'm going to unmute Barry, and maybe we got a couple more if you're willing to stick around for a couple minutes, Rob, and I'll let you go.
Hi. I'm not Barry, but I'm his wife. He's cooking. But no, my question was, one of the things you really want to minimize the water in what you're frying. And that's the whole idea behind the squeezing. Onions have a lot of water. Would it make more sense to use something like shallots? Leeks. Or even leeks, I guess, but shallots in particular instead of onions?
Yeah, onions are so traditional and they're what most people have around the house. By the way, latkes are just any time of the year. It's one of those foods. It's not like matzah, which you only eat at Passover because you really only want to eat it at Passover. Latkes are just great if you don't know what to make for dinner one night and you do latkes with some creme fraiche and smoked salmon if you have that around there. It's a great side dish, but you could use leeks. You could use green onions. Last night I made ketogenic latkes, which are no carb latkes, and I used or low carb latkes. I used cauliflower and green onions and eggs.
But shallots?
No, I used green onions. But yeah, shallots. So no, it's a good point. Shallots have a lot of water. You just have to use more. You don't maybe use as many of them. But yeah, you could use just the green part of the green onion. Makes for really pretty latkes too.
Oh, okay. The question was zucchini instead of potato, and I think I know the answer. Whatever you want, it'll work.
Whatever you want. I mean, zucchinis are harder to, you know, you want to kind of get the water out of those as well if you want them to get a little crisp. But you could fry it. I mean, if you could fry it, you could latke it.
Thank you so much. This is really
Thank
a
you.
wonderful hour to spend with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. I know we got a couple other questions, and Gary, I'm asking you to unmute. Go for it. Oh, sorry. I think I just muted.
Okay, I got it. So at our synagogue in Lincoln, Nebraska, we make latkes for the congregation each year. Of course, this year we can't do that. But the big argument each year is what should go into the latkes. Should they be pure like the ones that you're making? Or for the younger guys who have joined our group, because it's group guys that makes them for the whole congregation, they like to add garlic and tarragon, which we thought was, you know, you can't do that. But I have to admit that they really are good.
With garlic and tarragon?
Garlic and tarragon, yeah. Different, it's really different, but they are very flavorful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, a potato takes to any kind of flavor. That, like, if you would put garlic and tarragon on a baked potato, tarragon is a traditional topping for baked potatoes too. So I could see that. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of a purist, but I do like, the woman before mentioned green onions. I really do like green onions and latkes. I think they're pretty, and I love the flavor of them. And leeks too. Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yep.
Home of the garlic and tarragon latke.
Yeah.
For garlic and tarragon latkes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this. I'll have to look up your foodism.
Sure. Yeah. And check out forward.com. We have a lot of different food. Right now
I get the forward. Yeah.
Okay. So you'll see we also have a piece on the 8 cocktails, 1 cocktail for each night of Hanukkah, which is a really great piece. And in that piece, there's a recipe from Joan Nathan for olive cookies that aren't really traditional for Hanukkah, but they're delicious. And I made them a couple days ago and they were just fantastic. Sweet olive cookies. So lots of good recipes there. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're in Lincoln.
Awesome. Let's see, Ilana. you got
Okay,
another-
so first of all, indeed, thank you very much. It was wonderful. But
Thank
I
you.
also didn't get the website where I can get some of your recipes or something that
Yeah.
you're mentioning.
Forward.com.
Oh, it's all in forward. Okay.
It's on the forwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And actually, if you go to the Yiddish forward, they have a latke making in Yiddish.
I am so sorry. No Yiddish, my loss.
Okay. Well, never too late to learn.
No, and I even had I went to a course and I had, I don't know, it's gone.
Okay.
Beautiful books. Mainly I miss it because I cannot read the books. It's gorgeous literature in Yiddish, but
Yeah, yeah. So I hope everybody's latkes came out good.
I think that does that wrap us up? I think so. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll be posting the link to this soon. I wish there was like a nice way to like unmute everyone. Yeah, I'm like asking everyone to unmute, just have some moment of like.
Thank you. This was great.
Bye-bye.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.